Welcome to NEXTGames High Tier Mission Battlefield series. This video covering the Wyrm God vs. Shinryu. Now we'll start by going over the entry conditions for this HTMB as it's different than other battlefields. I'll go over the battle strategy I recommend you use, especially on the easier difficulties, and then I'll show you two battle examples on the easy difficulty, both using the ninja job, but using two different strategies. I'll also show you my 3 of 9 drops that occur on this easy difficulty. Now you may be wondering why entry conditions are different for this one, and it is the same 10 merits per key item that it is for most of the other HTMBs. To get to the battlefield, simply home point warp to Quiffum, and go to that same battlefield you went to at the end of Abysia for the Wyrm God. If you haven't done that yet, you need to complete that first. Now, the main difference between this system and the other ones is there is no queue system here. You simply click on the entry point until it lets you enter. Even with no others trying to enter, I've waited as long as 20 minutes here. On more populated servers, it's going to be some time before entering this HTMB will be a quick matter. Hopefully, SE changes it to a queue system soon to make this a more organized entry system. An example of what you're in for is to the right. Now before continuing, I want to make sure it's clear that I don't expect this to be a comprehensive video on the Shinryu fight as it just came out yesterday. This is going to be more of an introduction video to the fight and showing you what I've learned in the first 24 hours and the first 11 runs that I've attempted. I'll be releasing an update video in the coming weeks once I have more of an idea of the drop rates, as well as just the best strategy to use on both the easy and normal difficulty solo, as well as some other information to share in regards to how to take on the difficult and very difficult difficulties for this run. So now let's talk about my sample size. In the last 24 hours, I've tried 9 easy runs and 2 normal runs. Let's go over the normal runs first. Both normal runs had at least half my trust dead in the first 10% of the run. That being said, I was able to get him to 60% health with only 2 trust remaining. So a win is definitely going to be possible, but it's going to be strongly dependent on your trust ability to stay alive. Note these runs were attempted before the HTMB trust event that just went into effect today, so it's possible this will be easier now that that event is in play. Now my 9 easy runs were all successful, but near all of them had some or all of my trust dead by the end of the run. This fight is brutal on trust, but despite that it doesn't appear to interfere with a win as long as you keep some basic strategies in mind for this fight when taking it on the easy difficulty. First, let's talk about the trust you should use as they're incredibly important to this run. First, I suggest you use Ulmia for your marches, as Shinryu uses Dispelga often and has left me without marches more than once, so I prefer Ulmia's dual march on this one. Now Arcelia for haste 2 is who I suggest, as Koru is a bit too squishy on this run and kept dying in my initial attempts. Once I switched to Arcelia, she stopped dying and she was much more durable, and my runs went much more smoothly. Next is Cestus. He's pretty critical to all this, as your mages are going to burn through a ton of MP on this run. Bringing Seth to keep restoring MP to everyone, if you can fit him into your group, can be crucial, so if you're having problems, include him and see if it helps. Now for curing, you want to use Yoran Oran, Monboro, and Yignis. Use any 2 of these if you have them. If you don't have 2 of these 3, you go ahead and use Kupipi in place of Monboro or Yignis. Now Archiv is a solid tank on this one, but she died early in the 2 run attempts that I made yesterday, so you need to be ready to take over if that happens. Today, with the hit point and magic point event going on for the trust, she was much more durable and stayed alive during both my runs, so that definitely helps out the situation if you're having problems tanking this yourself. Now Shinryu has 2 forms that he will change between every few minutes, denoted by whether his wings are open or closed. Now from what I can see on easy, he will start with them open for 1 minute, then close for 3 minutes, then open for 3 minutes, and repeat those 3-minute intervals for the rest of the fight. Now when the wings are open, he takes full damage and is supposed to absorb damage during weapon skills or abilities, but I didn't seem to notice that, so it might only happen on higher difficulties, or not at all on this HTMB. It's also important to note that when the wings are closed, he takes 50% reduced damage and has access to quick cast. Now, Shinryu's abilities can be annoying for a tank to deal with who is trying to also deal damage, as many of his abilities drastically slow you down or halt your actions altogether. Some examples of these abilities are Cataclysmic Vortex, which will reset hate, Dark Matter, which is a 15-second terror ability, Gear Charge, which is a paralyze and knockback ability, Cosmic Breath will inflict plague, And due to all these types of abilities, I recommend using ArkyV to tank for as long in the fight as you can, as she stays alive for. Then of course you'll have to take over, but use that initial portion to get in as much damage as quickly as you can, especially during that first minute. Now magic bursts seem to be good forms of damage regardless of which form he is in, so my recommendation is to spam Blade Shun and double magic burst as often as you can. Try to face him away from your trust, but sadly with all the hate resets, his draw-ins can prove challenging, especially if ArkyV is tanking. So just position them best they can, and then start getting your damage in. Now from what I've seen, the drop rate on easy initially seems to be about 30%. Ammo, earring, and ring all dropped in those initial runs. In fact, all 3 dropped in my first 6 runs. Now time is going to tell whether armor drops here, and weapons, and exactly what drop rate those are going to have. But I'll be sure to update you on that in my next video on the Wyrm God. For now though, let's go ahead and see what our 2 battle examples on easy look like. The first one will be using ArkyV to tank, and the second one will be doing all the tanking ourselves. Enjoy the runs, everyone. that's going to be it for our initial look at Shinryu. I hope you found that helpful. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Stay safe and stay healthy out there.